The story unfolds with a family of 4. Don, the husband, Mona, his wife, and their 2 kids, Allison and Andrew. Mona is the rule setter in the household, making everyone, including Don, follow her strict rules without question. Don, deeply in love with Mona, tolerates her controlling behavior. Mona's desire to win at any cost extends to her children, and she punishes them if things don't go her way. As time goes by, Don's patience begins to wear thin. He finds it increasingly difficult to spend quality time with Mona beyond their rigid routines. Don works at a furniture shop owned by Mona, who used funds from her parents to establish it. When they advertise a job opening, a woman named Dusty applies. Don, feeling a connection with Dusty, takes charge of her interview. Encouraged by a neighbor and colleague, he starts considering the idea of hiring Dusty. The following day, Don makes a bold decision and chooses to hire Dusty, setting the stage for new dynamics in the family and potentially changing the course of their lives. As this unfolding drama continues, a chilling subplot emerges. A mysterious man is shown committing a murder, and he later catches sight of a TV commercial featuring Don advertising his furniture shop. Intrigued by sinister motives, this man, accompanied by his gang, begins to follow and track Don and Mona. Meanwhile, Don finds a source of newfound happiness in an affair with Dusty, the woman he hired for the furniture shop. This secret affair takes a surprising turn during a family party at their home, when Dusty reveals to Don that she is pregnant with his child. Shocked and angry, Don confronts Dusty, who discloses that she intentionally stopped taking birth control. Overwhelmed by the situation, Don confides in his friend Les. Les suggests offering Dusty money as a way to make her leave him alone, considering it a form of blackmail. Les believes that settling the affair with a financial arrangement could be a solution to the escalating complications. In a surprising twist, Dusty's connection to the mysterious man is revealed when she meets with a gang leader named Murphy. Dusty is part of Murphy's gang, following his orders to target wealthy men for money. However, despite her criminal affiliations, Dusty has developed genuine feelings for Don. Desperate for a solution, Don offers Dusty $13,000 in a desperate attempt to buy her silence and secure a promise to never contact him again. Overwhelmed and feeling emotionally used, Dusty tearfully accepts the money and leaves. Upon meeting Murphy, Dusty hands over the money, only to have Murphy demand a larger sum of $25,000. Following Murphy's orders, Dusty calls Don, insisting on the increased amount. However, Don finds himself unable to come up with the additional money. In a moment of apparent calmness, Mona suddenly erupts in anger, listing all the opportunities she provided for Don and everything she did for him. Just then, Dusty calls Don, and Mona insists that he put the call on speaker. During the call, Don reluctantly agrees to pay Dusty the demanded $25,000. Mona, frustrated and furious, suggests 2 ominous options to Don: either take drastic measures like harming or killing Dusty, or face the prospect of a divorce. The latter option poses the risk of Don losing custody of his children. The following day, Mona, driven by a sinister plan, prepares a lethal dose of drugs to kill Dusty. Filled with fear, Don is urged by Mona to man up and protect their family. As the atmosphere thickens with tension, Dusty arrives at Don's office to collect the money. Don, desperate and afraid, attempts to delay Dusty by engaging in conversation and proposing a final drink together. Seizing the opportunity, he secretly puts the drug in Dusty's cup, and she unknowingly consumes it. As the drug takes effect, Dusty becomes dizzy and attempts to escape, but her weakened state allows Don to catch her. Mona, orchestrating the sinister plan, instructs Don to place Dusty in the back of the truck, and they drive to their house. Don becomes alarmed when Dusty flinches, realizing she might still be alive. Mona then coldly tells Don to fetch a hammer. Overwhelmed by fear and repulsion, Don brings a hammer, but he is too scared to act. Mona takes matters into her own hands and kills Dusty. They then take Dusty's lifeless body to Mona's garage, where she proceeds to cut it into pieces. Witnessing this gruesome scene, Don is overwhelmed and disgusted, feeling nauseous and sick to his stomach. The realization of his wife's capability frightens him, marking a dark and disturbing chapter in their lives. The choices made in desperation come with haunting consequences, leaving Don to grapple with the horror of his involvement in Dusty's tragic fate. Meanwhile, Murphy's frustration grew as Dusty remained missing, and he received no communication from her. The tension reached a boiling point when Don returned home from work and discovered Murphy talking to his son outside the house. Panic set in as Murphy demanded that Don meet him to discuss Dusty's whereabouts. The confrontation escalated when Murphy confronted Don at the club, demanding answers about Dusty's disappearance. In a bid to protect himself, Don lied, claiming he had given Dusty the money and had no knowledge of her current location. However, The situation took a turn when Dusty, carrying the money, appeared and pressured Don to provide an additional $20,000 by the next day, threatening harm to his wife and children otherwise. In the aftermath of this intense encounter, Mona insisted on taking drastic measures. She proposed the idea of exhuming Dusty's body and going to the gangsters' house to deal with them directly. Mona formulated a plan to handle the gangsters, while Don and Murphy were scheduled to meet again at the club. Taking matters into her own hands, Mona arrived at Dusty's house, breaking in only to find it empty. Unbeknownst to her, the gangsters were already at the club, setting the stage for a complex and suspenseful unfolding of events. She placed Dusty's body parts wrapped up in plastic bags in the refrigerator. As Mona attempted to leave the gangster's house unnoticed, a girl in the house mistakenly thought Mona was there to join them in an intimate encounter. The gangster, upon discovering Mona's presence, became furious and interrogated her. In a swift move, Mona stabbed him with a knife, also killing the girl. Mona quickly fled the scene, leaving Don in shock. Mona, covered in blood, called the police to report a disturbance in the house, and then fled with Don. Meanwhile, the injured gangster called his friend for help, but by the time the friend arrived, the gangster had succumbed to his injuries. In the aftermath, Murphy discovers Dusty's dismembered body parts in the refrigerator. When the police arrive, they mistake a shotgun in the deceased gang member's hand and shoot him, while Murphy manages to escape. Don and Mona, anxious to erase any evidence linking them to the murder, burn all incriminating items. The day after Dusty's murder, the police deliver the grim news to Don. During their conversation, a neighbor's dog intrudes into their garage, irritating Mona. She sternly warns about the consequences if the dog trespasses again. To add to the mounting troubles, the police informed Don that one of the girls in the club described a man resembling him, who visited a few days back. In an attempt to deflect suspicion, Don makes up a story about his affair with Dusty, explaining that he went to the club to pay off Dusty's boyfriend, who had been threatening to reveal the affair to Mona. Desperate to make sense of Mona's increasingly erratic behavior, Don raises the topic of potential childhood trauma. Mona reacts emotionally, vehemently denying any mistreatment from her parents and issuing a chilling threat to Don if he ever brings up that topic again. Living in constant paranoia, Don finds himself navigating a life overshadowed by Mona's escalating madness. Mona, displaying worsening instability, begins plotting against Les's son, who consistently outperforms her son in various competitions. One day, all were celebrating Andrew's birthday. However, a shocking revelation occurs during Andrew's birthday celebration, when Don discovers that the neighbor's dog has been killed and placed in their refrigerator. They're all having fun with a friendly competition between Andrew and Les's son. However, Mona gets upset when she thinks Les's son is taking steroids. She insults the child's mother and wishes her harm. When Allison notices her brother struggling, she smashes the unicorn game in frustration. It's evident that Allison is Mona's favorite, and she's treated better. Seeing how his son is treated makes Don sad, and he believes Allison might become like Mona in the future. Frustrated with the madness, Don decides to take action. He creates an electrical short in the garage lamp by shutting off the electricity. After some tests, he releases gas into the garage and asks Mona to fetch him beef from the fridge. Don walks away as if nothing is happening. In the garage, an electric spark ignites the gas, causing an explosion that kills Mona. After the incident, Don and his children live happily in a new house without Mona's rules. However, the movie isn't over, because the police haven't found Murphy, who is following Don's car. That's all for today's recap. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.